I took my kids to a beach rental just over a month ago. I thought it would be a great way to escape my hectic week as a real estate agent. The house was beautiful, a $20 million home right by the shore. It had everything: pools, a huge kitchen, and stunning ocean views. I imagine making great memories there, right? The first couple of days were blissful. The kids laughed and played, running through the big living room. We built sandcastles on the beach and ate ice cream together. But on the second night, while I watched the sunset, I heard strange noises coming from the basement. It sounded like scratching or maybe just the old pipes. I ignored it, telling myself I was just being paranoid. As the week went on, my kids started acting odd. They would sometimes stare at the basement door, as if waiting for something. Their giggles faded, replaced by a withdrawn silence. I would catch them whispering to each other, their faces serious. I tried to shake off my unease. I told myself they were just tired from all the sun and fun. By the third night, I saw shadows flickering outside. I quickly glanced out the window. Nothing. Just the dark beach and the sound of waves. It sent chills down my spine. I wanted to ask the kids if they heard anything, but I didn't want to frighten them. I told myself it was my imagination playing tricks. Then came bedtime. I heard my kids call for me, soft and sweet. I hurried to check, but they were sound asleep, their little faces calm and still. I felt a weight in my chest, a mix of fear and confusion. I wanted to believe this was just a vacation. As the nights passed, the whispers returned, clearer now. I thought I could hear children laughing, playing. I told myself it was just the wind, but deep down I felt something was wrong. I remembered my kids' looks, their whispers. On the fifth night, driven by curiosity and dread, I stood in front of the basement door. My heart raced. Should I open it? I was scared, but those whispers felt like they were calling me. I remembered those giggles. I took a deep breath, my hand trembling as I gripped the doorknob. What if I left it alone? That's when I heard it. A child's giggle from behind the door. It froze me in place. I stood there staring into the dark. I could feel the chill creeping in, wrapping around my shoulders. What was hiding in there? Is anyone there? I asked quietly. The house was silent, but then I heard the giggle again, much closer. Panic surged through me. I really should have just walked away. Instead, I took another step closer to that door, telling myself I was only trying to protect my kids. But was I prepared for what was on the other side? I pushed the door open slowly, the creaking sound echoing through the empty hallway. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. The basement was cloaked in darkness, the only light coming from a flickering bulb far above. I hesitated, my feet glued to the floor. This is just a house, I muttered to myself, trying to summon courage. Inch by inch, I stepped down the stairway. The air grew cold and thick, the scent of damp earth filling my lungs. The giggle had faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. I turned back but saw the faint light from above quickly disappearing. I was too far in. I had to know what was down here. As I reached the bottom, I noticed a few old toys scattered across the floor. Rusty, forgotten relics of some past. A floral-patterned doll lay cracked, and a frayed teddy bear stared back at me with button eyes that felt too watchful. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. Had my kids played with these? Suddenly a noise broke the quiet. Something shuffled in the shadows. My heart dropped. "Hello?" I called, forcing my voice to remain steady. No answer. Just another shuffle, this time closer. I backed up against the wall, my senses heightened, ready to run. Then, from the corner, I saw movement. A small figure stepped into the little light the bulb offered. I squinted, fear clawing at my throat. It looked like a child, A little girl, maybe 5 or 6, wearing a tattered dress. Her hair hung in disheveled curls, and her face was pale. I almost called out to her, but something held me back. Instead, I whispered, "Where are my kids?" She tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "They're playing with us," she said, her voice airy and distant. "You can't see them yet." I felt my stomach drop. Who were us? "Playing where?" I pressed, but before she could reply, she vanished into the shadows with a soft giggle. I stood frozen. Had I imagined her? Just then, the lights above flickered and went out. Darkness enveloped me, panic spinning in my mind. I fumbled for the stairs, fear fueling my legs. As I turned, I noticed something on the ground. A painting, half buried in the dust. A quick glance revealed it was an old family portrait, and in the back of the frame stood a woman with familiar features. My heart raced. It looked like me. No, it was me, but younger, and standing next to my kids. But where were they? I snatched the painting and ran up the stairs, slamming the door shut behind me. I breathed heavily, my head spinning. I had to find my kids. They had to be okay. But the little girl's words echoed in my mind. "You can't see them yet." I glanced down at the painting in my hands, confused, but determined. I needed answers. I couldn't let anything happen to my children. The mystery of this house was pulling me deeper, and I didn't know if I could fight it. That night, as I lay awake, I heard whispers again. More urgent this time. They were coming from my children's room. My heart sank. I had to face whatever was happening. I had no choice. I crept down the hallway towards my children's room, each step heavy in my chest. The whispers grew louder, soft and playful, yet tinged with something darker. I paused outside the door, unsure of what awaited me. The doorknob felt cold beneath my fingers, almost as if it were warning me to turn back. I pushed the door open. The room was dim, the moonlight filtering through lace curtains, casting strange shadows. My kids' beds were empty, but their toys were scattered across the floor just like in the basement. I squinted into the darkness, searching for them. "Kids?" I called, my voice barely above a whisper. "Where are you?" From the closet a giggle erupted. I jumped back, heart racing. My breath caught in my throat. "Benny? Lucy?" Panic flooded my senses. What were they doing in there? With shaky hands I opened the closet door. Inside, the space was deep and shadowy. The whispers turned to a chorus of laughter, but I couldn't see anything. I felt the temperature drop, a chill wrapping around me like a cold blanket. "Come out, now!" Silence. Then a small figure darted past me. It was the girl from the basement. She stood at the foot of the bed, staring at me with her wide, haunting eyes. This time she wasn't alone. I caught a glimpse of my children peeking from behind her. "Mommy, we're playing!" Lucy shouted, her voice bright and cheerful. But I noticed something off. Her eyes held a strange glimmer, an unnatural light. Benny clung to Lucy's side, his small hand gripping her dress. "Playing what?" I asked, the words tumbling out of my mouth. "Where did you find her?" I motioned toward the little girl, but she only giggled again and took a step closer, her small frame eerily illuminated by the moonlight. "They're having fun, Mommy," Lucy insisted, bouncing on her toes. "You should join us." "Join you?" I felt a surge of fear and disbelief. Something was wrong with this girl. "I don't want to play. I want my kids back." The little girl tilted her head, amusement dancing in her eyes. "They are here. They just can't see you yet," she sang, echoing her earlier words from the basement. I turned to my children. They looked different, more distant, as if another world separated us. "Benny, Lucy, please come here." But they didn't move. Instead, they giggled and whispered together as if they were sharing secrets. The shadowy girl walked toward them, her hand outstretched. Benny reached for her, and dread washed over me. "No, come back!" I lunged forward, but the door slammed shut, blocking my way. "Mommy!" Lucy's voice was muffled, filled with worry. "Let them go!" I screamed, yanking on the door as desperation surged. But my voice faded, drowned out by frantic laughter that twisted around me. I felt the walls of the room closing in, and the shadows deepened. Then I noticed something on the floor beside the bed. A small, delicate necklace, sparkling faintly. It looked like one I used to wear, lost years ago. That's when I heard it. A low, sinister whisper emerged from the darkness. "Will you join them?" The air turned heavy, choking off my breath. My heart raced. I had to get my children out, but now I was staring at the very door that led me into this nightmare. I felt trapped, and the shadows all around were alive. I knew I had to act, but the path forward looked impossibly dark. I felt like time had stopped, the air thick around me. The shadows danced with a life of their own, and I could hear the echo of laughter morph into whispers. I stared at that necklace on the floor, trying to shake the sinking feeling in my gut. "No," I forced myself to whisper. "This isn't real. It can't be." But the whispers rose, surrounding me like a haunting melody. I took a step back from the closet, desperation rising within me. "I won't join you," I yelled, though deep down I could feel the edges of fear creeping along my spine. The laughter from my children mixed with that echoing voice, twisting together in an unnerving harmony. Suddenly the depth of the closet seemed darker, and two glowing spots appeared in the pitch black. They flickered like candle flames, and I felt my stomach drop. I took a breath and another step back. "What do you want?" I shouted. "Let them go." "Mommy?" Lucy's voice pierced through the laughter with sincerity, but it sounded distant, as though she was slipping away from me. "Please come play with us." "No, I can't do that." I moved to the door, my hands gripping the frame. I pushed against it. "Get away from her!" The door rattled, and suddenly, the grip on my children seemed to loosen. I caught a glimpse of Benny's face, his eyes wide with confusion, and my heart shattered. I couldn't leave them even for a second. I lunged forward, taking a chance. As I crossed the threshold into the closet, the moment felt electric, as if I were stepping through a veil. The cold swallowed me. I reached out for my children, but a gust of wind slammed the door shut behind me. The darkness swirled and I spun to find my footing. "Benny! Lucy!" I cried out, my voice trembling as I scanned the darkness. The laughter faded momentarily, replaced by an eerie silence. I felt disoriented. The air was still, but I could sense something shifting around me. Then a shadow darted past my vision. A flicker of movement that was too quick, too intentional. I could barely make out their features, but I knew one was the girl and the other my kids. "You shouldn't have come in here," she taunted, her voice sing-song, dancing on the edges of the dark. "I'm not leaving without them," I shouted back, the determination sparking inside me once more. I focused, pushing down the fear clawing at my throat. "What do you want?" A soft laughter echoed around me like a ripple in the stillness. The girl stepped back, and I felt a chill seep further into my bones. "To play, of course," she replied coyly. "It's the only way to be together." "That's not how this works." I fought against the creeping dread, breathing heavily. I took a step closer, focused on my children's faces, hidden in the shadows. "I will find a way to break this." and that's when everything turned black. I gasped as the darkness enveloped me. The air twisted and thickened, making it hard to breathe. I blinked, trying to regain my vision, but it felt like a heavy blanket weighed down on my eyes. Shadows flickered around me, shifting like whispers in the night. "Mommy?" The call was faint, a thread reaching out from the dark. My heart jumped. "Mommy!" It was Lucy. The sound drew me forward, pulling against the inertia of fear. I stumbled through the void, calling out their names in frantic bursts. "I'm here! I'm coming!" I steadied myself, listening for any sign of them. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by my own ragged breaths. Each step I took felt like wading through sludge, as if the darkness was trying to hold me back. "Show yourself!" I screamed, anger mingling with panic. It felt useless, but I couldn't remain passive. I needed to confront whatever this was. The laughter returned, but this time it felt mocking. "You really think you can take them away?" The girl's voice slithered through the shadows. "They like it here. They're mine now." "No!" I screamed, frustration spilling over. "You can't keep them. They belong with me." There was a pause, and the darkness shimmered. For a brief moment I felt something, a gentle tug at my heart. My children's faces flickered into view. They were together, holding hands, but their expressions were twisted with unease. They looked scared, but also enchanted? "Mommy, don't leave us!" Benny yelled, his voice layered with fear. "I won't!" I yelled back, my voice breaking. I stretched my arms toward them, desperate to close the distance. "You have to come to me." The girl stepped closer, her silhouette sharp against the gloom. She smiled, and in the faint light, her teeth seemed unnaturally white. "You want them back? Then you have to play my game." "What do you mean?" I took a cautious step forward. "Find them. If you win, they come home." With each challenge she spoke, the shadows twisted around her like curtains opening around a stage. "But lose, and they stay forever. I'm not afraid of your game." I had to sound sure, even if fear gnawed at my insides. "What do I have to do?" "Just find me," she giggled, her voice echoing as if she were all around me. I felt an electric pull urging me to move, each step propelling me deeper into the dark. Before I could question her further, the darkness began to shrink. Blinding light streamed in, and suddenly I was no longer in the void, but back in the familiar hallway of my house. But everything looked just a little off. Around me, the walls shimmered with a strange sheen, and I noticed more details. Whispers hung in the air as if the house itself was breathing. In front of me, the closet door stood wide open. I stepped toward it, my senses sharpened. "Mommy, please!" Lucy's voice echoed, clearer now. My heart raced as I realized I had no choice. I had to enter again. And that's when I saw it, an ornate golden key lying just outside the closet, glinting in the dim light. I couldn't help but feel it held a deeper meaning, an answer to the chaos surrounding me. But as I reached for it, a shadow moved across the entryway, blocking my path. "Not so fast!" A deep voice rumbled from the darkness. My breath caught in my throat. I wasn't alone anymore, and I was about to find out just how dangerous this game really was. I squinted into the darkness, trying to make sense of the figure blocking my way. It loomed larger than life, its features obscured by shadows. My heart raced and I took a cautious step back. "Who are you?" I stammered, gripping the doorframe for support. "What do you want?" The shadow shifted slightly, and I could make out eyes glinting like cold steel. "I'm the one who decides how this game goes. You'll need more than courage to win it." The voice was gravelly, sending chills down my spine. No, I just want my kids, I pleaded, my resolve teetering. You can't keep them away from me. They're not lost, the shadow replied, its tone dripping with malice. They are happier here. You're just another player in this endless cycle. A low chuckle filled the air, echoing off the walls and making me feel small and insignificant. I wasn't going to let this being manipulate me. I had to focus. What do I have to do then? I demanded, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Simple, it hissed. You'll need to find the key to their hearts, literally. It gestured toward the golden key still lying on the floor, catching the light in a deceptive gleam. I reached out, trembling as I grasped the cold metal. Did it really hold the power to bring my children back? Suddenly, a sharpness pierced my mind. A vision flashed before me. Lucy and Benny, trapped in a kaleidoscope of darkness, their faces streaked with tears. No! I cried, dropping the key. I won't play your twisted games. I spun back toward the shadow, my resolve hardening. But the darkness shifted, swirling as if it were alive. In an instant I felt a cold breath at my neck, then a sharp claw grazed my arm. Flee if you like, the deep voice whispered. But they will pay the price for your fear. Each word cut into me like a knife. My throat tightened. I was their only hope. I crouched down, clutching the golden key tightly, feeling its warmth seep into my palm, pushing back the overwhelming dread. Before I could fully grasp my decision, I dashed toward the closet. The whispers grew louder, more frantic. Find us, Mommy! We're here! I stopped at the entry, staring into the depths of the closet. I could see movement within the shadows, swirling in patterns that felt like they were guiding me. Taking a deep breath, I stepped inside, the air thickening around me. Then everything went dark again. The laughter echoed from all directions, slowly fading into a soft, sinister hum. I could almost hear the soft cries of my children mingled with it. Luke! I called out, but the whispering darkness swallowed my voice. Suddenly the world shifted again, and my heart sank. If I didn't find them soon, I might lose my chance forever. And just as I gathered myself to move further into the shadows, I felt a sharp pull on my leg, as if something was trying to drag me down. I gasped, panic sweeping over me. Help! I screamed, realizing the darkness wasn't just a void. It was alive. I fought against the grip that held my leg, the edges of the darkness sliding over me like a thick blanket. My heart raced as I twisted, yanking my limb free just in time. I stumbled forward, breaths coming in quick bursts. Lucy! Benny! I called again, louder this time, desperation creeping into my voice. The shadows flickered around me, mocking, whispering nonsensical phrases that felt like chains trying to bind me to this space. I couldn't stay. Not like this. I remembered the key, still clutched tightly in my hand. I have the key! I shouted into the darkness. I'm coming for you! I felt a brief surge of determination, enough to push me deeper into the closet's depths. The air crackled with energy, thick and heavy around me. Then, just as I thought I might find my footing, a sudden light exploded before me. I shielded my eyes, blinking. Shapes began to form, hazy outlines morphing from the shadows. That's when I saw it. A door, flickering with an inviting glow. I rushed toward it, willing it to be a way out. But as I approached, a violent tremor slammed through the ground. The laughter returned, distorted and nightmarish. No! I screamed, stepping back, but the door stood resolute, taunting me now. I don't have time for games! I shouted at the shadows swirling around, but they only laughed harder. With a deep breath, I took a chance. I reached out with the golden key, its surface warm against my skin. "If you're real, then help me." I pressed the key against the door. To my astonishment, it fit perfectly into a lock that hadn't been there a moment before. The moment I turned the key, a shockwave coursed through me. The door creaked open, revealing a brilliant light. "Mommy!" The familiar voices burst forth, and I felt a rush of warmth wash over me. Then, something shifted, pulling me back. I realized the shadows were gathering again, angry at my attempt to leave. "No!" I shouted, stepping through the threshold as fast as I could. "I won't let you take them." As I crossed into the light, the shadows hissed, a deep, echoing fury that clawed at my back. I stumbled into a new world, the brightness enveloping me, but I could still feel the cold presence lingering just behind. I blinked, and the brightness began to fade. It took a moment to gather my senses. A room materialized before me, painted in soft pastels, and scattered toys lay across the floor. "Lucy! Benny!" I yelled in shock. They were here, sitting on the ground, their faces lit with joy. "Mommy!" they cried out, but in their eyes, I saw something else lurking, an uncertainty, a flicker of dread. Before I could reach them, a voice echoed from the darkness that followed me through the door. "You can't hide from me, player." I froze, scanning the room for the source, my heart pounding. I had stepped into a trap, but had I brought my children with me? Or was this just another layer of the game? That's when I noticed a shadow looming behind them, creeping closer. The cold tendril of fear curled up my spine. I had saved them from the dark, but the game was far from over. I took a shaky step forward, desperately trying to reach Lucy and Benny, but the shadow behind them loomed larger. It slithered across the bright pastel walls, like ink bleeding into water. "Stay back!" I yelled, my voice shaking. The children seemed frozen, their giggles fading into silent confusion. I could see their eyes darting to either side, searching for reassurance that wasn't there. "It's okay! Mommy's here!" I called to them, forcing a smile that felt like it was painted on, but the shadow didn't shift. Instead, it pulsed, a living thing full of malice. I moved toward my kids, but the distance felt infinite. "Come to me," I urged, stretching my arms wide. The air buzzed with tension, a thick weight pressing down on us. Just as I thought they might bolt toward me, the voice emerged again, this time nearer. "You shouldn't have come back. You should have stayed where you belong." The sound twisted around me, wrapping me in creeping dread. "Stop! Let them go!" I shouted, but it sounded small to my own ears. I was losing hold of everything. The glow of the room dimmed, shadows swirling like smoke, threatening to erase the safety that against all odds surrounded me and my kids. "Mommy?" Lucy finally asked, her voice trembling. But it struck me. The way she said my name felt far away, almost as if she were searching for me through a dense fog. "What's happening?" "Nothing. Nothing's going to happen," I shouted back, my heart racing. "Mommy, I'm scared." Benny's voice cracked, pulling at my heart like a vice. I took another step toward them, my intent clear, to protect them, to shield them from whatever malevolence awaited. Suddenly the shadow expanded, billowing out toward the children. Was it trying to lure them? "No!" I screamed, lunging forward, adrenaline propelling me. I could see the shadows reaching for them. Between the cold dread of the creature and my instinct to protect, I found strength. "I have the key!" I shouted again, the golden object glimmering in my hand. "This key brought me here. It will get us out." With urgency, I turned it over in my palm, trying to remember how I'd unlocked the door. "We can escape." The looming figure momentarily hesitated, as if that word, escape, was unfamiliar, confusing. It recoiled just slightly. Maybe I had a chance, but then everything shifted. Lucy and Benny began to rise off the ground, entranced by the flickering light from the room. It charged through the air like static, and panic surged within me. "Grab my hand!" I screamed, reaching for them, my heart pounding. They hesitated for a second, and in that instant, the shadows rushed at them, blocking my reach. "No, no, no!" I cried out, scrambling to get closer as the darkness swallowed them. I could feel the pull of that cold presence, as if it had grown hungry again. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a gleaming object at the edge of the room, where the shadow twitched. I couldn't see much for the swirl of dark chaos, but it shimmered with an enticing beckon. That's when I realized my choice was clear. I had to do something. I turned away from my children only for a moment, knowing that risking it could mean everything. If I couldn't save them by reaching through the darkness, perhaps this mysterious object held the answer. I took a deep breath and dashed toward it, hoping with every ounce of me that it would lead to something more than just another nightmare. The swift rush of shadows clawed at my back, as if aware of my reckless gamble. I grabbed the object, its surface warm in my palm. But as I turned, the realization crashed down on me. The shadows hadn't just trapped my kids. They were planning something far worse. What I had found might just be the key, but it could also be the end. I stumbled backward, the golden object heavy in my palm. The shadow shifted, its edges curling and twisting like smoke. I could feel its presence testing the air around me, and I knew my moment of hesitation could prove fatal. "Lucy! Benny!" I cried out again, my voice almost lost among the echoing whispers swirling in the darkness. I had to act. I gripped the object tighter, focusing on its warmth, reminding myself that I wasn't powerless. Maybe this was the key to whatever dark force held my children captive. As I took a step back towards the children, the shadow surged forward, eager to reclaim its lost territory. I had to do something. Anything. I forced my breathing to steady. "What do I do?" I muttered, scanning the object in my hands. It was a key, but where did it fit? Then I remembered. The door. The door that brought me here wasn't just a portal. Maybe it was the way to fight back. With newfound determination, I turned toward the swirling mass that dominated the room. "Let them go!" I shouted, raising the key high above my head. "This is my home, and I'm not letting you take my children." I felt foolish for yelling at a creature that didn't seem to comprehend. The shadow recoiled slightly, the darkness around it retracting as if offended. I could sense its rage, but I couldn't back down now. I took a few steps closer, feeling the air vibrate with energy. "You think you're strong? You have no power over love." In that moment, the object began to glow with an inner light, illuminating the deceptive shadow surrounding my kids. I didn't know if it was the key's magic or my own desperate hope, but I knew I couldn't let fear reign. Lucy and Benny were still suspended in the air, eyes wide with terror. I took a breath and tried to push the words out like a shield. "You need to come back to me! Hold on to me!" The shadows around them hesitated, as if unsure what to make of my sudden resolve. I gritted my teeth and pulled myself together. I swung the key towards the children, aiming to break through the dark web they were caught in. I needed their trust. "Trust me! I'm right here!" I yelled again, desperation rising in my throat. The bright glow from the object grew stronger, cutting through the surrounding dark like a lighthouse beacon. Something began to shift. The shadow let out a twisted guttural sound as it expanded, wrapping around the light that burst from the key. I felt the presence backing away, visibly unsettled. "Now!" I shouted, and just as I did, a sudden burst of energy erupted from the key, sending a shockwave that pushed and seared through the darkness. The moment was electric, crackling in the heavy air, I saw Lucy and Benny fall to the ground, blinking up at me, confusion and fear etched across their small faces. "Mommy!" They scrambled into my arms, trembling but safe. But my relief was short-lived. The shadows recoiled around me, dark tendrils stretching and reaching for us. They were angry, and had not retreated for long. "Let's go," I shouted, pulling my children close as the key pulsed in my hands. I had to find the door. I had to lead us to safety. Just then, a deep, rumbling voice broke through the darkness, and it sent an icy chill down my spine. "This isn't over. You will return." As the shadows clawed at us, I sprinted in the direction of the door, heart racing, but the words echoed in my mind. I didn't know how or when, but I had awakened something darker than I had ever faced before. And one thing was certain. I needed to finish this fight for my children, and I had to do it soon. The shadows chased us, swirling and writhing, a tempest of darkness seeking to reclaim their prize. My heart raced as I pulled Lucy and Benny with me, their small hands clinging tightly to mine. I didn't dare look back. I could hear the whispers growing louder, a symphony of taunts urging us to turn around. "Stay close!" I shouted, my voice rising above the chaos. We ran through the twisting hallway, every step feeling like an eternity as the shadows closed in. The light from the key flickered, illuminating only a few feet ahead, casting eerie shadows on the walls that danced wildly like those malevolent spirits in pursuit. Ahead, I spotted the shimmering door where I'd first entered this nightmare. Hope surged through me, a beacon in the darkness. "There! We have to reach that door!" I yelled, pointing it out to the kids. "Mommy, hurry!" Benny cried, glancing back. I could see the fear in his eyes. It mirrored my own. With renewed urgency, I urged them forward. "We're almost there. Just a little further." We sprinted, but the shadows surged faster, almost hungry, reaching out like starving creatures. The darkness swept around my legs, tugging at me, trying to hold me back. "Don't look back! Just keep running!" I shouted, feeling the cold grasp of fear clawing at my ankles. With a final burst of energy, I lunged toward the door. I could barely see the doorknob through the haze of panic. My fingers grazed the cold metal, and I twisted it open with a desperate flick of my wrist. The door swung wide, revealing a brightness that felt both welcoming and terrifying. I could hear the shadows roaring behind us, furious at our escape. "In! Now!" I commanded, shoving the kids through ahead of me, the light bathing us in warmth as hope enveloped my heart. Before I could step through myself, tendrils of darkness snaked out, wrapping around my legs and threatening to pull me back into the void. "No! Let go of me!" I shouted, feeling the panic rise in my throat as the dark clung tightly. I fought against it, trying to keep my footing. "Mommy?" Lucy's frightened voice pierced through. "Please!" With one last surge of will, I grasped the key tightly in my hand and shouted, "You can't have us! We are stronger than you!" With that, I forced the key forward, the golden brilliance shining brilliantly against the shadows. And then, in a moment of clarity, I swung the key into the doorframe, connecting it to an energy that pulsed through the air. Light exploded from the key, a brilliance so bright it momentarily blinded me. The shadows screamed, a haunting, furious sound that made my heart race faster than ever. I felt the darkness disperse around me, the tendrils losing their grip as I stumbled through the doorway. My body was pulled into the light, and I heard the slamming of the door behind me, the angry shrieks of the shadowy figures fading into silence. I blinked against the brightness, finding myself standing in the living room of the beach house. The walls seemed softer, as if they were now filled with warmth rather than shadows. Lucy and Benny stood beside me, wide-eyed and confused. "Are we safe?" Benny asked, scanning the room for any signs of danger. "I think so," I breathed, relief flooding over me. "I think we're okay." But even as I spoke those words, a weight settled in my stomach. The whispers still echoed faintly, a lingering memory etched into my consciousness. I could still feel the pull of that darkness, even if it had been temporarily vanquished. I knelt down to my kids, pulling them close. "Promise me you won't wander off again. It's not safe," I said, hugging them tightly. They nodded, but their eyes betrayed the uncertainty of what we'd just faced. And then came the knock at the door. We froze, exchanging nervous glances. My heart sank. Had the shadows followed us? I stood slowly, the air thick with tension. "Stay here," I whispered, preparing for whatever lay ahead. With cautious steps, I approached the door, my heart thudding in my chest. I took a deep breath, grasped the cold doorknob, and pulled it open. The beach outside was beautiful under the moonlight, waves rushing rhythmically against the shore. No one stood at the door, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't truly alone. A chill ran down my spine. As I stepped back inside, shaking off the night's events, my heart raced. I still thought about the shadows, those whispers, and how easily they could return. They left questions lingering in the air. Was it really over? Or was this just a temporary reprieve? I moved back to the living room, locking the door behind me, trying to push the tightly clutched shadows of fear from my mind. My children resumed playing on the rug, laughter echoing innocently in the space. But even now, in the light, a bone-deep unease settled around me like a cloak. I remained vigilant, knowing that sometimes dark things don't truly disappear. They linger and wait for the right moment to return. I had escaped, yes, but the ripple of uncertainty remained, leaving me with unanswered questions about the house, the shadows, and the invitation to play again. Would it ever truly be over? I moved to the window, watching the ocean waves, listening closely for the whispers that might come again. In moments like this, I knew the darkness was never far.